Good morning, friends. Welcome back to our morning coffee time. For May the 30th. We are almost into the 6th month of the year. Unbelievable. How time flies. Okay, well, hopefully everyone can see and hear me okay. Someone gave me a 3 thumbs up, so must be doubly clear. A little distracted getting everything set up this morning. There's a massive pileated woodpecker just outside my window. This is the classic, what one might say, the Woody Woodpecker style. They have a big call and a big body. So maybe when we finish, I can get a picture of him, but he'll probably be off doing other things. So anyways, welcome to our Saturday morning. For those who join the evening chanting and the morning chanting, last night in the evening we were doing the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and I was thinking to go through the Cardinal Suttas one more time since the monks have been practicing them, but also since we have our new little camera sort of set up, the audio sounds a lot better. So I thought, well, maybe we'll do those and we'll face out facing the camera. There's no reason we can't face the camera when we're just doing some of the sutta chanting or the blessing chanting. I saw Chuck had a question in here about why do you face the shrine sometimes and why do you not? So, and part of it is if you're doing puja, the focus tends to be on the shrine, the Buddha image, the candles, the flowers, the incense, paying homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and it's done by body and speech and mind. So, so that's why we're facing the shrine, so we can do the puja and we can bow. And we have a very small hall, so it's a bit of a trick getting the microphones on the shrine and having space to bow and still be in camera, but it's an interesting challenge. So that's why. And then last night we turned out to face the camera to do the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. It was, made a half a dozen or a dozen mistakes because first time we've set up that way, but the sound is a lot better, at least. So, and then this morning we had a power outage right in the middle of the chanting. So if people were tuned into that this morning and there was some interruption, miraculously, there was just a pause, but on our end, it looked like everything just shut down. The lights went out, and eventually I turned the lights back on, and the internet blipped and knocked out my monitoring and controlling. So I thought the stream was just gone. But when it was all done, I got back up in the office. I saw that the stream was relatively unscathed. So that's good. Some people sent me some appreciation that we're still doing this and we're still doing the chanting, the morning and evening chanting. There is just a wealth of Dhamma teachings online for people right now. So yesterday, Lumpur Viradamo from Tisarana Monastery gave a talk on Zoom. Today, you're going to have to decide between Lumpur Suchito's talk, which will be 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So here in the West, it'll be 4 p.m. In the West of North America. And Lumpur Pasano will also be giving a Dhamma talk as part of a online gathering that the Council on Buddhism, which is a grouping of Thai monasteries, they invited Lumpur to give a talk today as well. So I imagine Ajahn Suchito's will be recorded. You can catch up on it later. I'm not sure about Lumpur Pasano's, but anyways, both those are at 4 p.m. In the chat, if you scroll back to the top of the chat, I put some direction of how you can find those things. I've been told it's not good to share Zoom details, but they are available on the Wat Atum website. And I think for Lumpur Suchito's talk, one needs to be on his computer or his email list. So, anyways. Let's see, we had some questions early on up here, so maybe we'll just go to that today. And while I'm looking for that, I might mention a couple of people emailed me about my little 5-point contemplation around the gradual path. Don't be selfish. Don't do anything you'll regret. Don't mistake pleasure for happiness. Don't neglect your serenity. And don't suffer, or don't suffer over anything whatsoever. And a couple of people said they didn't like it being formed in the negativa or the negative casting, like don't, you know. And that's fine. Don't kind of speaks to me. It has that kind of energy of like, hey, pay attention. Don't forget to be selfless. But cast that any way you want. And it's like part of what I'm doing here with these morning coffee times is really just trying to stimulate your faith and your energy and your curiosity to stay connected with this long-term endeavor of bettering your mind and learning how to live skillfully in the world. I've said this before, I don't consider myself in the foremost of anything, really. So I'm not really an expert on the suttas, though I'm sure if CNN invited me to talk or something, they would have that on their lower third. But the mark of a true expert is he knows how little he knows, and he knows who to look to, and where the true experts lay. So, but yeah, and I'm a big believer in creative engagement and Dhamma practice. And for some people, maybe they're a bit more set it, forget it types. They just want a technique they connect with, they find it meaningful, and they're just running that program. But I think you're limiting yourself if you're not creatively engaged in your practice. So, and I suppose for most people, the balance lays somewhere in between. We talked about commitment vehicles and the importance of Sangha, connecting with others, and that requires a kind of commitment and a harmonization of how it is that we engage with our practice. That's especially true with, say, chanting and puja. Many of our monasteries over time drifted and started developing their own little chanting styles and books. They had certain preferential translations for certain key words, some of the technical terms that come up again and again. And that's great, but if we take that too far, then we lose the ability to share that experience and to connect together and share a puja together, or share a chant together, or share a reflection together. So there's some balance that one needs to strike there, but being creatively engaged is important. So if you want to recast those in the positive and find your own language, that's great. Refer back to some of the list on the gradual training, or gradual teaching as it's called, sometimes called the graduated path. It's a subject I like to reflect on a lot, and also encourage people to investigate, to broaden their sense of these teachings. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it again. So let's see here. We got, I think Adil popped a question in here and so we'll go to that today. I have to adjust this live, so apologies. So, Ajahn, how to deal with separation and intense emotions that come with it? Well, good question. Separation from the loved is dukkha. So, the Buddha said the kind of affection that we most often share with people, the kind of love that we have, you could say, for people. There's even places in the suttas where he very boldly points out that love with attachment breeds suffering. And sometimes we don't recognize that in the midst of all the benefits of a loving relationship. But eventually, separation will expose not just the attachment, but, how it is that we even hold that relationship in our mind. And really strong relationships, of course, I think are bound up in the whole way and in our habits of selfing and identity even. It's hard to separate. Like I don't have a significant partner, we're celibates, but it's hard to completely separate my identity from the relationship to my country, my community, but especially my mother and father. So, this is a really important area of our life to pay attention to. How it is that we can love in a way that is in alignment with not suffering, and that is full of warmth and giving and caring, but lacking the attachment. And I would say most people only know how to love with attachment, and learning to love without attachment is a tall order. It really takes this inner cultivation that the path is aimed at. And when we meet separation or even contemplate separation, that highlights something of where we are in that sort of relationship. And it is dukkha. It's called out explicitly many times in the suttas. Separation from the loved is dukkha. And if we reflect on these teachings of dukkha vedana, it's inherently painful. There's even a very poignant moment in the suttas where the Buddha is in his old age, and his two chief disciples of Sariputta and Moggallana have passed on. And he makes a comment of how empty the Sangha seems without those two great beings alive in the world and in the midst of his community. And, from our position, our perspective, we can almost interpret or resonate that as a kind of soulful or sorrowful sort of statement. But, I think what the Buddha is pointing to there is there is a sense of, there's a natural, that perception we could say is dukkha vedana. Like it's not a positive perception that these great beings, these great friends have now passed on and are gone in the world. And I think part of our task as Dhamma practitioners is really learning to sort out sort of natural pain and what is the added pain. This is the teaching of the second arrow. And when dealing with separation, I think it's paramount that we understand that inherently separation is painful. And our job isn't to make it pleasant through explaining it away or ignoring it or something like this. I think it's useful to acknowledge that which is painful, and it helps quell the any of the more kind of unsatisfactory and even unskillful ways that we deal with facing pain. I always find it really straightens my mind out to call it out. This is dukkha. And when I've done something unskillful, and there's a sense of remorse, the mind wants to start telling all kinds of stories and justifications, and it goes in a bunch of different directions to try to deal with it. And one of the ways I find I can bring my mind to resolve and regain a certain sense of balance and clarity of the mind is just to acknowledge that there's remorse, there's regret. Like I did something that's unskillful, and the part of the natural ramifications and resultants of that is this feeling of remorse, and that is dukkha, that is painful. And I think separation is the same. Like when I think of my loved ones that have passed on, my father, my grandfather, various friends, it's never a pleasant thought. But there is an ability to overcome the intense emotions through acknowledging that this all belongs. Like separation's inevitable. Living in the sense world, it's ephemeral, it's out of control. And if one has contemplated the nature of the three characteristics, it doesn't change the fact that those things are painful, but it certainly does change your emotional reactions and the intensity of them and your ability not to be thrown by them. So and that's important. So, back to this story about the Buddha, he talks about the Sangha feeling empty. I think we can feel confident that he wasn't sorrowful. He was perceiving an emptiness and a lack of the positive and the greatness of having those great beings alive and those great friends with him, and now they're gone. But he wasn't creating suffering over it. So it's like that perception or the state that the community in, we could say, was dukkha in the sense of dukkha vedana, like not pleasant. But he didn't create any undue suffering over it. I'm sure he wasn't stuck in wishing and longing and hoping that they would come back. He understands the nature of it. And if one studies the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, that's very interesting. The Buddha is on his deathbed, and monks are reacting in different ways. And he chides some of the monks that are grieving and sorrowing, saying, "Don't you see, haven't I told you in so many ways that all things are impermanent, subject to change? That which arises ceases." So reflecting on those wisdom teachings is important. So, it's important to sort of acknowledge those feelings, call them out, but then also, just the same way we deal with hindrances or any challenging sort of state of mind, one wants to replace it. One wants to resolve it by not getting stuck or mired in it. So, and I thought there was another. So I hope that helps, Adil. It's a little reflection on separation from the loved. I find that chant and reflection on the 5 subjects for frequent recollection that's in our chanting book. I am of the nature to age, I have not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken, I have not gone beyond sickness. I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become otherwise, will become separated from me. And then the one on karma, and being an heir to karma. I find doing that reflection on a daily basis, or twice daily, or on a regular basis, also really helps train one to prepare for this. Because separation is inevitable. Separation from the loved. And it'll never be pleasant, but we can train ourselves to overcome being mired down by negative emotional experiences that can bring. Okay, I can't find it here now, but someone else had something about connected with that. Oh, here it is. Summary. Is our good relationship with loved ones also part of sense pleasure, as when they pass away, so much grief is there? Yeah, the short answer to that would be yes. Hopefully our good relationship is truly good, and there's a lot more to it than just sense pleasure, but that is part of it. Like it's pleasant to be in relationship and to have friends and family and to share everything it is that you share in those relationships. It provides it can provide a lot of the best of the sense realm, sense of pleasure and connection and opportunity to serve and give. It feels comfortable. There's a lot of pleasure and positivity that's available in a relationship, if it's a good relationship. And I suppose part of the reason why some people even stay in a bad relationship is because there's still some pleasure in having a relationship or being in a relationship. So the trick summary is to make the relationship good and to use the time to develop oneself so that they can, at the very least, minimize the grief that will likely come with separation. So, and the contemplation of birth, aging, and death is really good. Those 5 subjects are very good, but also just practicing the Dhamma, the whole of the Dhamma, really does help one develop an ability to alleviate the tendency to excessive grieving. So, something I noticed early on in my Dhamma practice too is, in particular, the cultivation of the higher aspects of the path really change your emotional life, especially in times where I was doing a lot of formal practice. I noticed one of the most profound things I noticed was what kind of emotions arise, the intensity, the stickiness of them, and their ability to sort of dominate my mind or consciousness really changed quite significantly, especially when I was a young monk, had very few duties and was doing lots of samatha practice. So, but wisdom also plays a very critical role in sort of reshaping it. And much of our emotional life is comically determined, meaning there are various views and perceptions that are critical ingredients to sort of how it is that a emotion comes to be. And not just the fact of the emotion, but the intensity, the strength, the way we relate to it. So, let's see. We had another question here from Frank. Good morning, Dhammapala. While meditating last night, my mind felt spacious and was very deep with breath, and then pop. I came out of the meditation and could not get myself back into it. Is this normal? It's never happened before. It's never happened to you. But yeah, that's totally normal, Frank. That happens a lot, all the time to meditators. I've experienced it many times. Conditions of mind sometimes are, especially in subtler states of serenity, they can be very fragile, very fragile. Even just a little bit of movement or a little mental indulgence here or there, and things can quickly kind of crumble and fall apart. So, and if that happens, don't worry about it at all. You're just kind of learning. So, it's not even all that. I mean, if you know what popped you out of it, then that's something that kind of learn or watch for. But over time, as a meditator, one learns from all these experiences, and you develop a sensibility of how to sort of skillfully guide your meditation, to avoid that. Even really delightful experiences or perceptions that come up in the meditation sometimes can shake us or draw us out of it. Like the arising of piti sometimes, the arising of joy sometimes can be enough that if the mind attends to it in a certain way, it destabilizes the conditions that are supporting the meditation. So, okay, talk about the weather. Oh, it looks like I am way behind. Okay, some people are finding the sound of the chanting better. That's good. To me, it sounds much better. So I just need to get used to running the new system. Because I have to monitor the video, monitor the audio, listen to the other monks, and remember the chant all at the same time. So, Gustavo, that is a strange question. I would need to replace a photographic image of a sculpture of the Buddha. How do I proceed with the deteriorated image that I will replace? Okay, I think you're worried maybe how to treat it in an honorful way. How do I proceed with the like you don't want to just throw it in the trash or something is maybe what you're talking about. And there are some customs around that. Even monks' robes, we're not supposed to just throw them in the trash. So in Thailand, when a monk's robe is finished, they burn it oftentimes, which is kind of funny because in the time of the Buddha praised the monks for, uh, making the most out of every scrap of cloth, and even using the like repurposing cloth over and over and over again, and using like old, worn out robes that were threadbare and just falling apart as rags. But cloth is not quite as precious anymore, so it's kind of the Sangha, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, are held very high in Buddhist culture, and so to see a Dhamma book or a Buddha image or the robes of a monk, which are emblematic of the Sangha, just discarded or thrown in a trash can or something, can be offensive to somebody raised in a Buddhist culture, where those things are always symbols to be handled with great care and reverence. So, really, the Buddha won't think any less of you, but you might just discard of it in a very honorific way, rather than just throw it in the trash can. So like maybe cut it up or something so someone doesn't find it in a trash can somewhere. Okay, and I got a little moral support from Phil here regarding my 5 reflections on the gradual path. I find don't more concise. So do I. And that's part of what I was trying to do. I was trying to make it very concise. So let's see. Ruwanthi, can you go over the qualities of Buddha? That's wonderful. Yes. Remind me even tomorrow, and maybe we can go over that. So, and here we go. Following up on don't. Don't can be in the soothing voice of mother. Very good suggestion. It's all how you say it. Don't be selfish. Now, come on. Don't do anything you're going to regret. Yes, one needs to cultivate that kind of voice in talking to oneself. But we have this very strong pull to heedlessness. Like we just want to be lazy and heedless. We just want to forget. And it really takes some structure and some commitments to keep us from falling asleep and to be careful. This life is precious. Dantika, okay. Thanks for saying our job is not to make it pleasant. It's not. I sometimes try to remind people, this is not heaven. We're living in the earthly realm here. This is the human experience. And we forget that at our peril. There's many of us that would like to image the human realm and our life as heaven on earth, or potentially a heavenly experience. What is heaven? Like all the conceptions of heaven, it's a place of ease and delight and justice. That's not the human realm. Okay, well, we have reached the end for today. I caught up with you all, so I'm going to leave it at that for today. There's plenty of other Dhamma opportunities. If you have some free time this afternoon at 4 p.m., you might listen to one of those Dhamma talks live, and we will see you on the live stream tonight. We'll be doing the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, one of my most favorite suttas in the whole world, the Discourse on Non-Self. So we'll be doing that at 6 p.m. tonight, facing the cameras, seeing if we can get it right for posterity's sake. So if people are free tonight, and join us then at 6 p.m. for that chanting. And if not, we'll either see you on the morning stream or here at Morning Coffee on Sunday morning tomorrow. So be well, friends, and we'll see you sometime soon.